I did. My mother gave me a book when I was about 9, which looked like a novel on the outside, but was blank in the middle. And I filled that in with some kind of story. And I did always want to, but when I was about 16, I decided that I wasn't really allowed to want to. So I took about 15 years off wanting to. No, I felt like I wanted to and I could.
Right.
I didn't feel like I had to or I would explode. Well, I worked in this whole food shop in Primrose Hill for a long time, and one of the customers was a lady called Belinda, who is a writer and an editor, and she offered to read it for me. And she liked it, and she was very generous and showed it to people. But Belinda gave me really good advice and told me to cut a fifth, and you know, I was very well prepared by her before I sent it to anyone.
Right.
I've been a teaching assistant and a jewellery maker. I did telesales for 3 hours once. And I've mainly worked I worked in a whole food shop in Primrose Hill, and now I work in one in Hayward. Well, I do other things with my life. I was a full-time writer for 2 years, and I didn't actually like it at all. I was very lonely and isolated, and felt like my inspirations would dry up because that was all I was doing, inhabiting my own head. So actually I do a lot of other things with my life. I work in a shop, I've got 2 children, I do other things. I write all over the house. I do have a room to write in at home, which is a very lovely room with a big window, which I'm not allowed to look out of, otherwise I'll stare out of it all day. And it's very disorganised and messy, and there's paper all over the floor because I'm not very tidy. But actually I kind of follow the sun around the house because it's quite cold, our house. Now, I'm really bad at self-discipline and routine, and actually I think writing is quite a tricky thing. Well, anything creative is quite a tricky thing to be routine about. I have tried working from 9 till 4, but actually you drop off if it's not working. No, I don't plan them at all. Well, I've written 2 and I'm writing my 3rd now, and I don't know what's going to happen at all. And I start with a person normally, and a situation, and I just see what goes from there. And sometimes that's really exciting. Other times it's incredibly terrifying, actually, because you don't know what the hell's going to happen. But no, don't plan. Yeah. Actually, Violet Park, I had no idea of what was going to happen until 10 pages before the end.
Right.
And I was tearing my hair out thinking, how am I going to end this? I need to end it now. And then I went back over it and found this piece where he looks up stuff on the internet, and I wasn't sure why I'd put that in there in the first place, but then it became quite central to the plot. But that was totally by accident. I look cleverer than I am. People. And I'm definitely more of a character-driven reader and writer than I am plot-driven. Because nothing can happen to some characters and you really care. And everything can happen to some and you don't mind what happens to them because you're not taken with them. I think you have to be really connected to the person you're reading about. In my books? Well, I guess... Well, both of my central characters so far I've felt incredibly connected to. I suppose Lucas in Valentine Park is the one I connected with most because it was my first experience of doing it, and I did actually miss him when I'd finished, as if I believed he was real, which is strange and sounds incredibly cliche, but is actually true. There's not an special one apart from him. I think each character you're writing. Right now I'm doing a book with 2 first-person narrators, and I think you're connected to the ones that you're doing. Well, I tell you a writer that I always thought was rather misunderstood, although I don't think he is really, is Kurt Vonnegut, because he was always put into this kind of science fiction bracket. And actually he's the most amazing humanist and the most amazing comedian, and I'm quite obsessed with his books. So, but I don't think he hasn't had the audience that he deserves, because I think he's probably, you know, hugely read. But it was always confused me that he was a science fiction writer, because I always thought he was so much more than that. Crossword book.
Really?
I don't know, I fall asleep on long journeys. Maybe a book of short stories, actually. Maybe For Esme with Love and Squalor. I love that book. J.D. Salinger. Book of short stories, because you can nap in the middle and not lose your thread. Not the Bible and not Shakespeare.
Yeah, of course.
Something really long, then. I can't think of what I would... I'd probably make a fire with it. Something really long and really rubbish, like Gone with the Wind, and then I can make a fire. That I most identify with, I don't know, that I'd most like to be. Can I answer that? Can I change your question?
Yeah, you can do that. That would be mine.
I'd like to be Pantalaimon.
Right. Why?
Because then I could change. I could be incredibly connected to a person that was almost me, which has got to be the ideal of any kind of love-based relationship, or that, you know, the furthest extreme, and also that I could change into all these